Hi everybody, I'm here today. Fatty is down here being my helper. I have a super great theme. Today I guess would be emotional growth spurts or bumps along the spiritual path, because I do experience those, and I experienced one a couple days ago, and I just kind of want to get that off my chest and analyze it. I've been doing a lot of internal work. I've deleted all my dating apps, which feels amazing to just get off that merry-go-round of nonsense, because I kind of realized that I am not in a place that I'm even interested in dating, and I am not going to attract what I want anyways. And then I just found the nonsense that's happening just emotionally pulls me away from the work that I'm doing to better myself and to better my life and hopefully better the world. I'm on my second Jeffrey Allen course. I'm taking a course with Vishen Lakhiani on the Silva Ultra Mind System, and that really helps you to train your mind to program when it's in different, like alpha state, theta state, delta state, which I find neuroplasticity very fascinating, and I'm interested in knowing the potential of my mind and harnessing that mind-body coherence. And I'm also reading a book by Catherine Woodward, I hope I'm getting that right, called Calling in the One, which is all about calling in a healthy relationship. And I started that book with that goal in mind, to bring in a great relationship. What it's actually done is brought more life to me. It's brought more of my potential out. It's gotten me more grounded in myself and more secure in myself. And I'm a little more committed to my passions. I'm more committed to fitness, seeing the potential my body can achieve. I'm more committed to healthy eating, my passions. I'm reading philosophy again, stuff like that. I don't know what this cat's doing. So it's made life exciting. It's made life feel more adventurous, and it's just made my core of who I am stronger. But there are times that I bump against old energies, because I'm finding that that's sort of what the spiritual path is that there's almost a duality that exists as I'm kind of figuring things out. So that I'm feeling like the best version of myself, or I'm getting to the best version of myself, and then sometimes I'm just thrown back into an old energy, an old version of myself, something that triggers me, whatever, and it causes emotional storms. But really, if I look at it, all the work I've done, the emotional storms are less and the good feelings are better. So I really can't be hard on myself when I'm experiencing kind of a bump or a growth period like that. So it's also the pandemic too. So it's just interesting to kind of go back to life regardless of any internal work you're doing. So I went out last week for the first time to like actual bars with like single dudes. It was on King Street. So if you live in Toronto, you'll know what King Street is. King Street's like somewhere I never, not to be like snobby or anything, it's never ever been my vibe. But I thought it would be fun from like an observer's point of view. But yeah, it was too much. It was too much for me. First off, it was interesting to go out for the first time, really, where people are drinking and there's single guys and people are out on the prowl. I felt like I was in a part of an animal documentary, and I really spent most of the night observing what was going on around me and experiencing it from a more grounded perspective than I've ever been. So I was able to not get as entangled as I would have in previous times. I found it fascinating. I just found there was so much, like, I don't want to sound judgmental, but I felt desperation. I felt, predator energy. Felt a lot of testosterone, that kind of thing. None of it was directed at me too, which is interesting. I'm out of the game. And at first I had reverted back to insecurities, because I reverted back to like being 12 years old at the school dance and people calling me ugly. Like triggers came up of like not being the attractive one, being the brainy one, not having these feminine wiles that attract men, not, you know, having self-respect, whatever. So at first it really knocked me off center because it really was a world that I don't belong in. And it made me reflect that I had these experiences when I was young where I was called ugly. Boys thought I was disgusting. And I think I was still holding some of that in me to this day. I used to live out of that. I used to make decisions out of that, trying to feel desirable, trying to feel pretty. And it seems so dumb now. And I looked around at the guys, and it was astounding to me that I ever tried to get self-worth or validation through male attention. Because this, to me, a friend put it better, that King Street is just everybody living out their trauma. And that's really what it felt like. I felt like a fish out of water. I felt like, oh, I would love to be here with somebody who's on the same wavelength as me and finds this absolutely ridiculous. It was so much testosterone, so left out of the equation. And I like myself, and I like to be left out of the equation. That's totally cool. Having not partied, having not dated, having not gone out because it's COVID, and then being in this epicenter of that sort of energy, both just like emotionally triggering. It made me realize I have some insecurities to deal with, but I was also in awe. The fact that I used to be somebody who played with those energies, because they feel like an absolute waste of time. I didn't find the kind of animalistic chase interesting, and the guys from Woodbridge driving down to pick up. It just seemed like a strange way to live to me, I guess. And again, I know I sound judgmental, but that's just kind of how I experienced it. It did bring up this sadness that I just always go to, where I just feel like every guy is like that, and men are not interested in me because I am more cerebral, or I am more outspoken, and I don't have this like flirty femininity. So it brought out insecurities that men really are chasing for sex, and they're looking for literally the complete opposite of me. I mean, I did talk to a couple guys, and I could just feel that they just thought that I was too challenging, or too curious, or emasculating or something. So it brought up some of the better points that Catherine Woodward is making, and makes me want to solidify that in my life more. And I can see very clearly I'm heading down a very different path, and I'm more interested in my own security and soothing myself, rather than looking for these external things that are so shallow and empty to feel good about myself. I can put this together in something coherent. So Catherine Woodward talks about 2 questions you ask yourself when you want to manifest a relationship that's healthy. The first is, what do I need to let go of in order to manifest this relationship? And for me, it brings up things like, I need to let go of this sense that men don't want me, that men only want sex, that there's nothing lasting out there, there's nobody you can trust. As soon as I asked myself this question, so many things come up that seem obvious, but have been stuck in my subconscious for decades. Or I knew they were there, but I didn't think that they had any charge, but they actually were filters of how I was seeing the world. They were ways that I was making decisions. I was making decisions out of impulse, out of desperation, out of insecurity, a need to feel loved, a need to feel comfort. And I am sitting with those much more and letting them pass, because my real self feels grounded and solid, and that's where I want to attract things. And that's the energy I want to make decisions out of. I don't want to make decisions out of a much lower frequency, because that's where all the drama starts, and it's never, ever, ever been something that has nourished me or added to my life. The second question she asks is, what do I need to embrace in order to receive this vision? Again, a lot pops up when I'm meditating, when I'm reading, and I think these are very good questions, but it starts to become less about questions about finding the relationship and more questions that lead you to find a better life and a better sense of self and a better relationship with yourself. I like being more committed to my health and fitness and reading and my passions. Those are the things that I'm going to go forth. And it doesn't seem right now that will ever connect to finding a relationship, but it has certainly made me feel more excited about life and feel more valuable. And I don't really care to be a part of the game. I'm much more interested in seeing who I can become when I'm not this insecure person who thinks they're always going to be alone, and nobody will be there for them. So I'm much more fascinated by how life is unfolding as I shed the past and I shed all these beliefs inside of me that are illusions. They're just creations that have been programmed into my mind through whatever, through school, through family, through media. We're reading Nietzsche, and he's talking about like when you leave the external world, there is no roadmap. It gives me comfort because in a way, I am leaving the safety of the tribe. Like whether it's like the tribe of the human race or the tribe of my family or whatever, there is a certain aspect of it where you're going on this journey alone, how life unfolds. And I am trying to get really rooted in that, really rooted in building up my intuition so I can follow that, so I can live life making decisions that align with integrity. Because like the King Street experience, I just was pushed out of myself, and that's what it feels like when you're not grounded. Is it just all the dark thoughts come up, all those insecurities, and that's where I used to make decisions, and that is not in integrity of what is actually best for the highest version of myself, and it doesn't feel good. So I'm much more attuned these days to the things that feel toxic and feel that they lack integrity and just don't feel right for me. And again, this is where like I feel like I'm being pretentious and judgmental, and maybe I am. Now I'm just trying to discover what resonates in my core and what doesn't, what's in my integrity, what isn't, and following that, where my intuition leads me, and following that path. Because as I'm committing to fully live, to have some more integrity, some more honor, some less insecurity, I am noticing that the noise is getting quieter. The ego thoughts, I actually kind of consider them more id thoughts, but that would require me to bore you to death with Freud. But to me, I don't even know if I call it ego, but it's like the thoughts of the id that lead you down the wrong paths. Those voices are quieting. I can let them pass. And that voice too was a very entitled voice. It was a very like, why does that person have that, whatever, and I don't? And that is a really painful voice, and it really sucks the energy out of you, and it disempowers you, rather than living in integrity and following your own path. None of this is easy, for sure, but it's fascinating. And I left Friday night and I was so happy to kind of get back into my own energy. And as I blather on, that's something that Jeffrey Allen's courses really, really taught me, is what my own energy is, what is the external things that are not harmonious to it. They're not, you know, the beliefs that are not serving me, the pictures I have of myself that are causing pain. I'm starting to really align with who I really am, and I'm excited to see what comes along in that journey, because the journey I was on before was the one of like neediness and desperation, and that didn't bring anything other than drama. That sounds really stark. It brought some positive things, but I think that was the positivity resonating in me, was bringing in those positive things. But I think all that insecurity, all that desperation inside of me really brought pain and drama. And the journey of who I really am and following my own guidance, following like divine, my own actual connection, resonance with the divine, I find that path just so fascinating. Every day is starting to feel like a little mini adventure, and things are starting to feel more possible. So, sorry if I sound like Jack Handy from Saturday Night Live right now. It's so slippery because energetic things, you can't really grab a hold of them. So this kind of journey does come with a level of doubt and wondering if it's my imagination. Energies, it's hard to sort of articulate. It's this, even Tesla couldn't define energy, you know what I mean? It is one of those indefinable things. But to summarize, I'm trying to live in congruence with my values, trying to shed my old beliefs that are not serving me, trying to get rid of these patterns that are so negative and just disempower me, and outgrow these toxic, painful patterns. Anything with the word pattern in it that's bad, trying to get rid of that, trying to reach my full potential, clean up subconscious. So much. So I went on these Mindvalley journeys thinking one thing, and reading this Calling in the One book thinking, you know, yay, I get to have like a relationship, but I'm caring less and less about that. What it's really done is help me to clean up some garbage and evolve into something better, and make better decisions. I want to show up differently in the world. Don't want to show up as the weaker version of myself. So that is my main goal, is to get that stronger version who's congruent, has integrity, to show up in the world and see where life takes me there. So yeah, Fatty, anything to add?